Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Pack.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay. Got the diesel flowing. We got Jacob in the house in Wisconsin as well. Here to talk some Packers as the smoke is settling from the Senior Bowl, boys, and what a bunch of information. I'll tell you, I woke up this morning going, where do we start? You know, so get a cat
right over there.
It'll be fun. They said. I can't tell if he's got a crap pain or the cat attacked him or what. You okay, Jacob? We good?
Cat got me. I got the claws in. That was hard.
She said. All right, so let's get into it here. One thing I wanted to mention, we're trying to get important dates kind of in line, and we're going to update the ticker, obviously, as we move forward into the offseason. I was thinking, about the PFF free agent board. It's been updated now, which is awesome. We got more than just 50 or 100 prospects. There's a ton on there. So we'll kind of comb through that in the upcoming days. But one date we need to keep in mind is, like, when was Zadarius Smith cut, right? When was Aaron Jones cut? All those things. And it's important to kind of understand the precedent around when the Packers make these moves. If we are going to have a cap casualty cut, which we all know we don't need the cap space now, but it doesn't mean we won't cut someone, right? It could be Ja. Ja could be traded. Ja might be here. It could be Kenny with a June 1st designation like we did Zadarius. That's possible, I guess. I doubt it. Highly, highly doubt it. But anyway, Aaron Jones, that date attached to him was March 11th, okay? That's when he was released by the Packers, and obviously it was right as they made an offer on Josh Jacobs. So keep in mind, as free agency opens, we may have a cut or two. That's possible, right, as we move forward. So Josh Martin in the chat says, when do you think offseason trades will start happening? That's the next date we need to run down, Josh. We need to see, the problem is the Packers haven't done a whole lot of that, right? So we'd have to use the precedent based upon the rest of the league as opposed to the Packers. Can you guys, Jacob, Tim, can y'all think of a trade that might have taken place in the offseason, whether it was right before free agency or right after free agency, that the Packers were involved in?
No.
Nah.
Seems like it happens before the deadline is how Goody likes to operate, right? So we'll see what happens across the league and when those trades typically take place. So for this, good morning, Vietnam. All right, there you go.
Good morning.
So keep in mind, we got that with March 11th. Then, of course, the fifth-year option, we ain't got to worry about that until after the draft. April 29th, 2022 is when that fifth-year option was tagged on Darnell Savage. And you want to kind of –
You got to bring that up, huh? We want to talk about that?
Hey, listen, man, it's important to accept our mistakes, right? If you don't acknowledge your mistakes, Tim –
You'll never learn from them.
Hey, people were going, it wasn't my mistake. That was Goody. I didn't say to do that, right? That's what everybody's thinking right now. But – anyway, another one, we did a poll question the other night, and this really surprised us. When we went off the air, or when we put the poll question up about halfway through the show, man, Davante Adams was running away with it, but Max Crosby ended up winning the poll. We said, which player would you rather have? And the fans voted here on YouTube. This wasn't Twitter where you get a mixed bag of other fan bases sneaking in to vote, right? This was our listeners or viewers here. There was 52 votes at the time, and Davante Adams had 46%. Max Crosby beat him 54% to 46%. Pretty interesting there. Does that surprise you guys?
I think it's interesting that 54% of our viewers probably agree that we're drafting Jaden Higgins then. If we don't need – if we got Jaden Higgins, right?
Fixes the problem.
Tim, I agree with that, kind of. But, what do you think is the biggest glaring need? Would you consider wide receiver or a strong defensive end / edge? What would you consider the biggest need for the Packers right now?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. For me, I keep going back and forth, but for me, honestly, It's interior offensive line is kind of the thing that keeps popping up to me is like, we don't have a center right now, boys. We don't. And if Elton's going to kick over to center, we seen what happened when he wasn't in the game. And I know there's a case to be made that Jordan Morgan will be healthy so he can play in one of those guard positions. I got you. But what happens when someone goes down now, right? Who's that? I'm telling you, man, and this is a trenches draft, according to DJ. This is one of those drafts where you want to load up on defensive line and offensive line because they are aplenty. And most people would say, well, doesn't that mean you wait till later? You could, but even though there's massive depth at offensive and defensive line, you've also got to take into account the tiers in which they fall on the draft board. So you may have to take multiple swings early rather than let's just trade back. I'm okay with trading back once, but once you kind of get in that sweet spot of 20 to 60, you got to swing the bat. You got to try to hit a home run and damn sure hit a couple singles in there while you're at it. So keep in mind that, with that in the background. Now, you guys keep mentioning Jaden Higgins. I know that's Tim's guy. I'm very excited about him too, man. He did everything he could have done throughout college, being at Iowa State, and then also at the Senior Bowl, right? Like he just flat first touchdown scored, all that. There's another receiver that's soaring up boards right now. And that's Jack Besh. So what I'm going to do is let's put something up here. Maybe LaFleur can with that covers it here. All right. So I'm going to play a clip here. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just yesterday I had some stuff that couldn't allow me to watch the Senior Bowl. Was there anybody that absolutely shined? That was
Jack Besh, man. Jack Besh
was Besh.
Yeah. I'm gonna play a clip and then we're gonna jump right into it. That's a great segue. Look at me and Jacob prepared this offline. We actually talked about what we're gonna hit. So this is the audio. We can't show the video, obviously. So this is the audio from the game-winning touchdown, okay, in that game yesterday. We went off the air right when it got good, Tim. But hey, at least everybody got to actually enjoy it, not listen to us mumble, right, while we were But here we go. This is the game-winning play. 7 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The American team was down 19-16. 4th and goal. Everything on the line. Rather than going for a field goal here, they said, let's try to win the damn thing. Here we go.
Last shot as the American team makes their move. Hennigan on the move. Looking. Yes. Got it. Jack Besh has his Mobile moment.
That's a walk-off.
And the American team swarms Jack Besh. Makes the game-winning touchdown catch.
So, listen.
Which was great because he was wide open on the play before and they missed him.
Right.
Okay, first of all, the American team, who's the opposites? Is it the Soviets? Who are we?
It's the communists. It's the American against the now. It's the it's the national team there. And
okay, all right.
It is crazy though because like when we were Tim done an excellent job. He carried the water yesterday. Let me tell you, son. It was just like he had the rosters printed out, Jacob. So it's hard to tell who these players are. We've seen them on spreadsheets. We've seen them watching the tape and everything, but in a different jersey, all that stuff, it's hard to kind of, cue in on them. Yeah. So he had the roster with the numbers and everything. And when I said, all right, here's how it's going to be, Tim, the American team's going to be wearing orange and the national team going to be what? The white nationalists? What are we doing here? First thing I thought was like, why do they have to put the national team in white? Why are we doing this? So anyway, that really popped to me right off the bat. I got to watch how I word that during the broadcast. That's what I was thinking the whole time. So.
Did y'all
the
see
white
this?
National team with the no, let's don't go there.
Now with that accent, Clayton, you can't do that.
Well, that's true. Deadfish says, I did not know Besh's brother died last month in New Orleans' terrorist attack. Yes, so Jack Besh lost his brother a month ago, right?
That's
and if you guys have not seen the post-game interviews, man, they are phenomenal. You talking about a guy that just leaning on faith. I'm telling you, man, there are going to be several teams fall in love with that kid. And since we're kind of talking about it, let's just jump right into the draft board and talk about where these players are. And Jacob, I'll be able to answer that question of, who stood out all week long, that type of thing, because we gave bonus points. Now, I try to be very, very cautious with giving bonus points for the actual game. You know what I mean? Because you can get caught up in, man, did you see that, Tim? That guy broke 2 tackles, -5. Give him a huge bonus. And it might not, be that big of a deal. But you'll notice here, we've got the board sorted. You see these -5s, -8, -5s right here? That is who performed the best during All-Star Week. You'll see there's some East-West Shrine Bowl folks in there as well. And if you see somebody on this list or notice someone isn't on this list and hey, I think they should get a bonus, hit us up in the Patreon group, okay? And let me know, hey, man, you should really consider giving him a bonus to the board, Clayton. But the way it sits right now, Jacob, these are sorted by overall grade as well. They're sorted by the amount of points they got, and then it goes into overall grade. So here are the big names. Jack Bech, I gave a -8 to, and that's a positive. Okay, keep that in mind, guys. That's a 8-point swing for him. He stood out all week long in Senior Bowl practice, and then he ends up getting the game-winning catch. Tim, didn't he have another touchdown in that game too? Am I thinking right? I think he caught another touchdown.
I believe he did, yeah.
So he
and
really
– he was over 100 yards too, receiving. I want to say 8 or 9 catches too. I mean, he balled out for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jacob, Jack Bech is the dude that stole the show yesterday, okay? Also during Senior Bowl week, and I'll try to go through it and highlight them for you here. Mike Green, edge defender from Marshall, right? He was there for Senior Bowl practice. He got the -5 bonus as well. He really stood out. My boy Walter Nolan stood out all week long. People talked about it at the Senior Bowl. Next, you had Shamar Stewart, edge defender out of Texas A&M. He stood out all week long. You guys know he actually got mocked to us, right? Was it Kyle Krabs or was it DJ? Yep. No, it's DJ, wasn't it? Yeah. DJ picked him 23rd to go to the Packers. Now, Kyle Krabs had him in the top 10 going 9th to the New Orleans Saints. So his stock is soaring. He had a huge week at the Senior Bowl as well. Also at the Senior Bowl that got a big bonus was Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. That's Jason Taylor's son. All right. So he had a big day. That's also Joy Taylor's nephew. Keep that in mind. Offensive tackle Gray Zabel, right, from North Dakota State, had a huge week. We talked about him a lot. And he is now officially, Jacob, we haven't talked to you much. I know me and Tim hit on it yesterday. He is officially being listed now as the top center in the draft, even though he came in as a tackle because he played center all week long in practice.
Really?
Like he was rotating in and out. And they said, he's the best center in this draft. Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The one thing that I did see was that he was the highlight of Gray Zabel just balled out. He just whatever they asked him to do, he did, and he did it very well. Yep. I'm saying
they played him at guard, they played him at center, they moved him to guard, and then they stuck him back at center.
Yeah.
Did he play a little tackle in the game too? I want to say.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. It seemed like they were trying to give him every opportunity to prove, hey, look, college tape shows he can play tackle. Let's show that we can play on the interior. Let's show we can play center. And I think it was Dane Brugler that put the tweet out we talked about yesterday. He came in and was just like, hey, this is your best center in the draft. And you remember, we didn't have a center in the top 100 according to all the big boards, right? Well, now we do. Gray Zabel is actually – his grade is a 55.8 on our board. We'll see where he actually ends up. Matter of fact, I can do it right now probably. Let's just let's sort it A to Z here, and let's see where Gray Zabel fell in. What was he saying? 54. Gray Zabel, where are you, sir? Yeah, so he's in the 60 spot for us right now. Many people think he's cracked the top 50. So ours is a little more hesitant, and the reason being is when we put the information in, the consensus big board had him at 74. He's probably higher than that on the consensus big board now. And that's why we get the information in early, because we don't want the pendulum to swing too far in one direction. And we're giving bonuses along the way, which he did get a -5 bonus there for Gray Zabel.
I mean, look at that progression. That's a guy that's learning. He's progressing. I mean, I'd love to see that, man. If we could get a Gray Zabel on this offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Especially what if you could get him in the second round? I don't know if he's going to be there, but if you could snatch him up in the second round, holy cow, man, that would be wild.
Yeah.
So let's sort it back by the Senior Bowl info here. Going back to who really stood out, we say Gray Zabel. And these, once you get past this -8 and you get to the -5, now they're sorted by our overall grade. So these are actually the order in which we have them. You had another tight end that stood out, Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami. All right. He got the Senior Bowl bonus as well. He is the second best tight end amongst these guys, only behind Mason Taylor that really stood out. Next, you got Azare Thomas, cornerback out of Florida State. His grade is a 71.1 on our board, but he got the bonus there with the Senior Bowl as well. And then Jack Kaiser. Jack Kaiser had the bonus as well from, I think it was the Senior Bowl that he was at, right? And I love what Emilio did here. I need to put the SB in here too, but he put CAP. You see that CAP, meaning he was a captain. We need to try to run those down if we can and see who all was captains of their team. I think most of them would be, but it might be more of a who wasn't a captain would be more noteworthy, Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky, another one. Huge bonus at the Senior Bowl. He had a hell of a week. He's much lower on our board than most people have him, but boy, he's climbing quick. As he jumped up several spots because we put in DJ's big board at 44 and the 33rd team at 57. He's climbing every day. So really interesting to see where Maxwell Harrison goes. Darius Alexander was also at the Senior Bowl. He's one that flashed, defensive lineman out of Toledo. Then you got Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker out of Oregon. He gets the bonus, had a great week at the Senior Bowl. The East-West Shrine Bowl, Noel Williams, Nohl Williams, cornerback out of Cal at the East-West Shrine Bowl. He got a bonus as well for an awesome week. Elijah Ponder, edge defender from Cal Poly. He got the bonus. He was actually at, I think, the East-West Shrine Bowl, if I remember correctly. We need to get that in. I'm pretty sure. Was a lot. Let me actually look that up real quick. Anything you guys got to say while I look that up with Elijah Ponder?
I had to step away for a second, but did you guys talk about Jack Kaiser? Like, apparently he really did show out, right? So, I mean, a little bit older, but gosh, it's a weird situation because I love Edge so much, and I think that Quay has a lot of potential, but I am kind of curious if we randomly go linebacker high in this draft, and if so, that's probably going to make the make the fan base kind of lose their mind a little bit there. But I mean, Tim, what do you think? I mean, I know you're a defensive guy. Like, what do you think about maybe trying to imagine if we had three studs, like actual freaking studs at linebacker? Does that change the course of the Green Bay?
I mean, like we have right now, we have Quay Walker, and we've
Edwin
Cooper, and we've got Tyron Hopper in the hopper. I mean, like those guys.
Tim's like, you mean you want to take anything other than a receiver? Is that what you're saying?
Also, Tim, real quick, what do you feel about the other Iowa State wide receiver? Is that somebody that's maybe on your – because I've seen some mocks where they're showing both of those boys are going to be reunited.
Remind me of that, and we'll look him up here in a second. If you can grab his name, we'll search him on the board.
I think it's Royals, right?
Jalen Royals?
Jalen Noel?
No, I bet it's no. Yeah,
Noel.
Royals is with Utah State, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah, so just remember that. We'll look him up here in a second.
Gotcha.
So Elijah Ponder out of Cal Poly had a great week. Ja'Cory Brooks out of Louisville, East-West Shrine Bowl, he got the bonus. Defensive lineman Joshua Farmer, guys, he is soaring up our board right now. When we first had him, look at these PFF grades, 318, 760, 571, right?
Wow.
And, I mean, he was just in the tank for us. The PFF big board has him now at 124, so he's skyrocketing up boards. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that said he had an awesome week. And again, played for Florida State, someone who you're going to look at PFF and go, oh, he's cheeks. But I'm telling you, there's going to be a team draft him, but just because of the way he performed at the Senior Bowl and probably because of the measurables as well. Herring from the East-West Shrine Bowl, he gets the bonus. And then Kyle Williams, wide receiver from Washington State's another guy that's starting to creep up our board big time. The consensus big board still has him at 840. The PFF big board has him at 152. That's the discrepancy there. And again, he was the 64th highest graded wide receiver in 2024. And of all these players here that we just mentioned that had awesome weeks, right? Walter Nolan and Tyler Herring, cornerback out of Delaware, were the only two the Packers met with, to the best of my knowledge. So a couple of guys that really stood out. Go ahead, Jake. What were you going to say, man?
No, nothing. I was just going to ask, is this screenshot you got right here, is this specifically for the Senior Bowl, or is that actually like the rankings that we have going?
So the way it works, the way I had it just now, I have it sorted by All-Star Week. So if anybody got a bonus, you see this column right here, that's the bonus they got. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now those guys, Jack Bech is at the top because he got the most bonus points, that 8, right? Now after that, everybody is in order of their score. This is their grade over here. Okay.
Right. Do you see us? I guess Mike Green's looking more and more just like I gotta have that guy, man. Like, is there any situation that you see that if he doesn't fall, I don't think he's gonna fall to us, but if he could, I mean, to run to the podium with that pick. But do you see any sort of situation where where Goody trades up to try to get that gentleman there?
I don't know if Goody's going to trade up, to be honest with you, because it's possible. We're at 23. Daniel Jeremiah says the sweet spot is 20 to 60, meaning from 20 to 60, the players are pretty much all the same as the way he's seeing it right now. Now, it's going to separate as we get closer, obviously, and get the measurables and everything. So what that would suggest is if you want a guy in a tier higher, if Goody's board looked like DJ's, you would have to get up to inside the 20 to get him, right, to guarantee you would get him. So, yeah, I mean, there's a chance Goody could trade up, but there's also – I think there's more of a chance that he could trade back because you're just outside of that. And, Goody doesn't want to give up a whole lot of draft capital. But you were asking about Mike Green. This is pre-Senior Bowl, right? Daniel Jeremiah had Mike Green going number 28 to Detroit, all right? Kyle Krabs had Mike Green. Where's he got Mike Green at? Do we see him anywhere? Mike Green. I don't see him. You see him?
He's falling out, yeah.
So according to Kyle Krabs at the 33rd team, he doesn't think that Mike Green's going in the first round with his first mock. That could change. We'll kind of like I said, take a look at these mocks as we go forward. We're not going to adjust our board at all based off of mock drafts that other people do. It's just gathering information of, okay, where are they going to land? Where are they going to go? So Turtles, the last time Goot traded up in the first, it was for Love. And that was a tier 1 position. And Mike Green plays edge. That's a tier 1 position. The problem is we got rid of Preston Smith because LVM wasn't getting enough reps, right? Those younger guys, LVM, Brenton Cox Jr., Kingsley Enagbare, Goody wanted those guys to get reps. So now if the board lines up, you go get another edge. You could go get like a Khalil Mack in free agency. The problem is you're kind of back to square one other than the fact that Khalil Mack is a major, massive improvement over Preston Smith, So if Goody's steering the ship towards LVM, we want LVM, Brenton Cox Jr., and Kingsley Enagbare on the field more. I could see them being a little less aggressive, trading up to get an edge defender. Right. But you also – the Riders –
I agree with that, Clay, because you talk about Khalil Mack. That guy's not going to play 60 snaps a game. He's not. He's just not. He's going to be a rotational guy, which would be, what they're looking for.
Right. The other thing to take into consideration, too, I think I can do this. Let me try something here. The writing's kind of on the board. Who is Goody looking at, right? Who has he been looking at? Let's see if I can search by this cheese emoji. Well, So we got 70. We're up to 71 now. All right. So here are the players that – let's just focus on the top players, okay, that the Packers have met with so far. Walter Nolan, defensive lineman out of Ole Miss. All right. Then you got cornerback Tyron Herring out of Delaware. Okay, so you got D tackle and corner. Then you got D tackle Kenneth Grant. Then you got cornerback Trey Amos. Then you got edge defender Princely Unamelin, I think is how you say it.
Nice, nailed it.
Tight end Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. Wide receiver Jaden Higgins. Right?
Oh, there's a guy.
Wide receiver Jalen Royals. Defensive tackle Aeneas Peebles. CJ West, defensive tackle out of Indiana. Wide receiver Jalen Knoll.
There you go.
Cornerback Jacob Parrish. Edge defender Tyler Barron. Offensive tackle Bryce Cable do. The cables do, Jacob. Stop stealing the neighbor's cable. Efton Chisholm, wide receiver. Cornerback Corey Thornton.
Efton Chisholm down there somewhere.
But you're noticing a trend here. The majority of the players that they've met with are defensive tackles and corners, then probably wide receiver. Now, there's some edge there, don't get me wrong, Jacob, but you're just not seeing them at the top. You know what I mean? They're kind of looking – usually that's somewhat of a blueprint. It's a blueprint for, okay, here's at least the direction Goody's going in. It doesn't mean we won't take an edge with the 23rd pick. But if I had to guess, I would say that first pick's going to be defensive tackle or tackle.
I already shared that, Tim. I shared it.
It's great.
Yeah. Princely, you can't pronounce this. That's what we're going to start calling him. Mr. You can't pronounce this.
Oh, I love it.
Me over here reading the notes. All right. So we covered the guys that stood out the Senior Bowl. Let's sort the board back now to overall grade. These are our overall rankings. Anything you guys want to hit on with this before we dip our toe into free agency a little bit?
I saw a couple of guys in the game that I highlighted last night that I don't know if they necessarily get some bonus points, but I think they should be on the radar. Sebastian Castro, corner out of Iowa.
Yes,
I thought jumped off the film in the Senior Bowl. That's a guy we might want to look at. Where's Castro on our board?
Yeah, we got him in the 189 spot. Look at the PFF grade. In 22, he was the 144th graded safety.
Whoa.
He jumped to number 3 in 2023 and then fell back to 369 in 2024. The PFF big board has him at 64. The consensus big board has him at 128. That looks like Jaden Reed right there.
That's a goodie pick. That's a goodie pick right there.
Another potential is Tim Smith out of Alabama.
You're just Timoth, dude.
Hey,
Tim
he's
Smith.
interior D line, baby. It's a position of need. Some might say it's the most important position we need.
I didn't say it. They said it. All right. So Tim Smith, defensive lineman out of Alabama. We don't have very much information in there at all. So we need to run that down. So consensus big board had him at 341. We do not have a PFF big board grade. I'm going to see if I can find that right now because they're updating it in real time. What we're doing, guys, just so you know, full transparency, we are not giving them the latest PFF board grades. The only way we do that is if they're recently added to the board, okay? Because we don't want the things that have happened post-college football season bending our board in too much direction. But we want as much information as we can get in terms of if a player doesn't have that on his card here. So Tim Smith out of defensive line out of Alabama, he was the 169th graded defensive lineman in college football last year. We don't have the 23 grade. We don't have the 22 grade. So we need to get more information on him. I'm going to start running some of that down right now if you guys just want to talk a second.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had a couple other guys, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But I certainly think, that's what the Senior Bowl is all about. It was awesome that we got a thrilling kind of, last minute drive and the way that game ended and everything. But I think both sides, the American and the national side, there were guys that stood out, and I think they helped themselves a little bit with their draft stock. Some guys probably didn't move the needle at all, but sometimes that's the best thing you can do is go out there and not hurt your draft stock and not, make mistakes or anything. So I thought there was a handful of guys that we've kind of looked at, but haven't, and they kind of stepped up yesterday. And Savion Jones, another guy out of LSU, an edge. That guy popped a little bit off the tape. Miles Frazier, LSU, offensive lineman, played pretty well. So there's guys at our positions in need that I thought put together pretty good games yesterday.
Yeah, and he just climbed up a little bit, Tim. He actually jumped to 303, Tim Smith did.
Okay.
The PFF big board has him in the 179 spot now. So now he's officially 302 for us. So
Nice.
I heard a lot about Quincy Riley. Is that somebody that you guys saw that flashed a little bit or whatever? Or because right now I see him on right there at 312. But
Louisville,
people said, again, look back at 2023. Guy was he was playing ball. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's one of those things that just seems like kind of a goodie pick where it's funny because we all sit here and we think we know. Obviously, we're sitting here diving into the draft. We're trying to figure out who we're doing, and we all get surprised on draft day and we're like, oh, never saw it coming. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's one of those where it's one of those we should have maybe seen on the horizon. And we've learned our lesson. Like Clayton talked about, he's adjusted. I mean, props out to, first of all, to Emilio, because he's absolutely crushing this board this year. Like he's just the amount of work that you guys don't even understand. Clayton's talking in the group chat. Like, he's like, this guy jumped up like 13 spots. This guy fell down. You guys have no idea how much the work they're putting in. So like, just acknowledge that. It's really awesome. But Quincy Riley was a guy that I thought that was maybe jumping up the boards. Is that somebody that we could maybe take in the last couple of rounds that could be a surprise kind of guy, The
Packers are linked to him, right, Tim? They met with him earlier this week at the Senior Bowl. So, and I want to say this is a guy that Jake Shavink mentioned too. Like you pointed out, 2023 had a great year. Yeah. He had a great year in 2023, right? This year, though, you're talking about 634. Matter of fact, I'll I'm going to go to the PFF big board real quick and see exactly how many snaps he played. Hopefully we can. Is he even on there? I don't know if he should be on there, right? 164, and he's listed as a corner, correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Quincy Riley.
And Jacob's right about Riley, because he could be a guy that could be on the board a little later rounds in the draft. My dude was Jalen Smith out of USC. That was the guy that I really liked. But I think Jalen Smith is probably going to get drafted a little bit earlier, and I don't know if we'll be in the mix picking a corner at that spot. So Quincy Riley might be the dude to pay attention to here.
Yeah, so in terms of snaps, he did play, he played a bunch of snaps this year, 554 snaps Quincy Riley did. So it wasn't like an injury-riddled, shortened season. Now, the year before he played 774. He is an outside corner, okay? He played 54 snaps in the slot, 23 in the box, but overall, he's an outside corner. So he just had a down year. I don't think it was injury related. He's 6 foot, 195, redshirt senior. He's 23.6 years old. Again, Jacob, to answer your question, if he does go, I think it'll probably be a little later in the draft, although PFF has him at 151. So he was at 164. We're not going to change that. We're going to stick with the 164. And the consensus big board had him at 139. So that would be what? Roughly the 4th round, something like that, am I thinking? So
5th, yeah.
4th to 5th, probably it'd be a day 3 grade on him, most likely. So there you go. That's Quincy Riley. Anybody else, Tim, that you had in mind, man?
Let me butcher another name. Oluwafemi Oladejo, UCLA edge.
How do I look that up? So what's the first name? Spell the first name for me.
Oluwafemi.
One more time. Oluwafemi.
There we go. There we go.
We got him. Is he on? He's on the radar, right?
Oladejo out of UCLA. I didn't call him an a-hole. It's Oladejo.
Here's the guy.
I actually took a little bit of Spanish, but that's where I met my wife in Spanish class. Cheated off her all year long. Got a better grade because I flirted with the teacher. Hey, let me
married to Emilio? What?
Girl, no.
It's too early in the morning for this, Jacob. You guys are terrible.
Andy always gets mad when I tell this story because she's like, he cheated. He copied everything off of me all year long and got a higher grade than me. She's like, and they were like, how do you do it? He flirted with the teacher, bro. Let me tell you something. I won't say the name because we probably got people watching. I earned the hell out of that grade because that was not an easy thing to do. I'll just leave it at that. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, right, Jacob? The PS5 is secure, if you know what I mean.
Senior,
Get ready to go.
Anyway.
Guys, if y'all could see our group chat, it's have a different.
There's a reason they don't see that, Jacob.
By the way, you mentioned the board, Jacob. I want to say this. We had a special request in the Patreon group. People were like, hey, man, we want access to your board. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a version of the board. We'll keep it updated to where you guys will have a copy of it, but nobody can change it in there. So you can just go in there and view all the information. So we're going to be releasing that probably today. That'll be put in the Patreon group today. I want to give a shout out to who it was that asked. Todd Larson, one of our members in Patreon, asked if they could have access to it. So that sounds good. I honestly didn't know if you guys would be interested in it. So I didn't want to like, hey guys, go check out the board, homework assignment and everything, but we'll get it to you guys for sure.
Number one Packer fan says Clay sounds like Peggy Hill speaking.
That sounds right. I do got that Peggy Hill voice, no doubt about it.
Oh Lord,
we got that Appalachian twang with absolutely zero bass in the voice and the vocal cords here. So, all right. Anybody else, Tim, catches your attention that might be named John or Jake or something like that? Here.
Let's see. I'm looking at linebacker. Another Florida guy. I'm going to bring him up. Don't everybody come after me. Shamar James out of Florida. That's a pretty straightforward name.
Oh yeah, Shamar James. Of course, it's not popping up. Am I spelling that right? SHAMAR.
SHEMAR.
Nah.
EMAR. Shamar Jones. He is way down the list.
James, not Jones.
James.
Yeah, I think we just got him in wrong. Just change that to James.
That's gotcha. That was probably me. I guarantee it wasn't Emilio.
Let's blame. I was going to say let's blame Emilio. He's not here. That's
well, that's a good point. Shamar James out of Florida. So PFF.
PFF does not like him at all.
Yeah, 2022, 545th. Then he jumped to 293rd. Then he dropped back to 650th. The PFF big board had him at 231. The consensus big board had him at 462. So
I thought he played pretty well yesterday, though. He might have did themselves a little bit of a favor.
Right, and I'll tell you what happens at those Senior Bowls sometimes too, man. You know they're not going to be drafted, but they flash. That's where you get those undrafted free agents brought in for a $32,575 bonus to try to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Get them in there and take a look. So.
I got a couple of receivers that aren't named Jaden Higgins or Jack Besh. If you want me to bring up a couple of receivers,
please, Tim, do it.
Chuck says, "You knuckleheads ain't in church. Vince wouldn't be happy with you, fellas." Chuck, are you messaging from church, sir?
Yeah, Chuck's sitting in the pew looking down at his phone right now.
Yeah, going, I can't believe these blasphemous.
Thou shalt not pass judgment.
Anyway, Tim, what you got here, man?
A couple receivers not named Jaden Higgins. Ty Felton out of Maryland.
Who? One more time. I'm sorry, Ty.
Ty Felton out of Maryland played pretty well yesterday. T-A-I Felton.
T-A-I.
Number one Packer fan is in the parking lot of church. He's going to be late for service. He's waiting until the show's over.
All right, Ty Felton, wide receiver, Maryland at the Senior Bowl. So PFF grades in 2022, 662nd, 548, then jumped all the way to 89. PFF big board had him at 173. Consensus big board had him at 93. So he sits in the 155 spot for us, Tim.
Nice.
155. What pick would that be? Let's get this up here on the screen real quick. Pick 155. We would probably around the 5th round, right? Yeah. You could reach in the 4th to make sure you get him. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk
to me,
about
man,
Ty
I'm telling
Felton.
you,
a lot of people like him.
And I'm so starstruck on two receivers, man. That's Jaden Higgins and Jack Besh. Jack Besh just feels like a Packer. You know what I mean? And people go, yeah, but Clayton, there's going to be other teams on him. I get that, but let's see how realistic it would be to get him. According to our board, Jack Besh is sitting in the 86th spot, right? Now, he's going to soar up boards now after that performance, right? And we need to get a little bit more information on him. He was the 35th highest graded receiver in 2024. PFF big board had him at 56. The consensus big board had him at 136. So he's probably
take that off the screen, Jacob. Take that off.
Come
the screen.
on.
No,
Why?
enough of this.
Why?
I talked about this yesterday. Stop with the
Everybody's
Puka comparisons.
I think it was Danny Brugler.
Is it just because he's from TCU, or like what? What's the?
Well, he's kind of built like a Puka Nacua, right? Like body
what's wrong
type.
with that? Why are you hating Tim?
Because I don't like when you compare guys coming.
To
you know,
other guys?
they haven't played a down of football in the NFL yet, and we're already calling them the next.
All right.
I will say this though. There was nobody on Puka Nacua.
Yeah,
I remember that draft. I don't care what the hell anybody. Oh no, I liked him. I actually liked him as an early bull crap. There wasn't anybody mentioning the name, and I'll tell you how I know why. Because when I mentioned his name on this particular program, people roasted me and said Clayton PFF isn't everything. I'm like, I'm just saying this dude dominated, and then he gets to the next level and dominates. And everybody's like, yeah, Puka Nacua, I seen that one coming. Let me tell you, he was a stud. You could just see it all over him. Get away.
Yeah, Tim, I freaking you highlight it before I could even put it up.
Yeah, baby. Coach Lynn.
Coach Lynn knows.
He knows.
Let me see if I can get a 2023 grade on Jack Besh. You guys talk for a minute.
Well, there were a couple other receivers besides Higgins and Besh that I
all right,
wanted
Tim,
to bring up.
Give us your top 5 if you had to do it, right? All right, so you obviously it's Jaden Higgins, right? You would go Besh.
I'd go Higgins.
I'd
go Besh. I'd probably go Pat Bryant.
Thank you. Yes.
I would go Jalen Royals.
Thank you. Yep.
And then I would probably go with
how about the guy from Colorado?
Ty Felton or Ja'Cory Brooks out of Louisville.
What about Torrey? I think his name is Torrey Horbert or something like that from Colorado.
Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. Yeah,
yes,
that's another one.
Sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
He'd probably be 6. And then your guy, Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State. The one sub 6 foot receiver that I'm remotely interested in.
So you want the big dudes. You want the big dogs.
That's Ricky White out of UNLV too might be another guy.
Hey, honestly, that's a great pick. Great pick. I mean, you look at his PFF grades, the guy was absolutely dominant. And, we talk about how like, it's a smaller school or whatever. Nah, I'm sorry, but if you perform that well, like I'm all about it. I completely agree. And while we have it here on the screen, just real quick, Chris Paul Jr., if we pick that guy, I'm just saying. I mean, he had obviously when that 591, it's highlighted from Emilio, the fact that he probably had an injury that year. Other than that, though, guy has been balling out. I would love. There's a lot of guys from Ole Miss that I'm very interested in.
And the reason we got that highlighted like that too, guys, is you look at 2022 is the 119th graded linebacker. 23 dropped to 591. It's like, what happened? Well, he had an injury. Oh, that's important to know that. Then the very next year, this is last year in college, what's he do? He jumps up to 20th. So you've seen progression the entire time outside of the injury, and the fact that he had a healthy season this year, you don't worry about that injury anymore, right? He stayed healthy. PFF Big Board had him at 62nd. Consensus Big Board had him at 109. So what's up, Dane? Everybody sit up straight. Dane's in the house. All right. So anyone else?
I'm tired of looking in the clearance section for talent. Well, you're in the wrong pod because Jacob loves the clearance section.
Dude, I'm a boss at Ross, bro. All right. I'm partial to Marshalls. All right.
Jacob's like, let's look at who's ranked in 300 to 400 range on this board real quick.
Somebody go walk
I'm sorry, Brandon Cox Jr. has been performing. All right, guys. All right. I'm just
Somebody's
saying.
going to walk into a Ross and Hudson, see Jacob in there leaned up against it, and you're going to hear the conversation. It's going to be, are you sure you don't have any used underwear in here?
Let me check real quick.
We don't go undies. All right. That's my line.
Straight out of the pack with the undies, right? Not getting those on the clearance, right? God, this show sucks. Let's go to the chat. Josh Martin, Cooper Kupp expected to be traded cap-wise. Would it be better to trade for him instead of Tay? They have a similar playing style. Let me take a look at Cooper Kupp. I didn't hear that he was expected to be traded. That's interesting.
I've heard the rumors. I have heard the rumors.
I've heard rumors, but I didn't hear that he was expected to be traded. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think McVay is going to let him go. I just don't. I mean, with him and Puka, that's arguably one of the best tandems in the NFL. I mean, Tim, I don't know what you think about that, but I don't see him shopping his best wide receiver. Question, and there is a question as to his durability, but I mean, I wouldn't be mad if you tell me that Kupp's coming to Wisconsin. I'd be like, all right, let's go. Like I wouldn't be mad about it.
So here's how that would work. And again, guys, I don't know all the details, just based off the information I got in front of me. His cap hit is $29.7 million. The dead cap attached is $22.2 million. That means the second that he's cut or traded, that dead cap of 22.2 would accelerate to this year. Now, if they hold on to him for another year, the cap penalty or the dead cap drops to $7.4 million. But the way his contract's structured, you got $12.5 million in base salary. You got $4 million in signing bonus that's already been paid out. The restructure proration is $5.7 million. That's already been paid out. So that goes to the Rams. He's got a roster bonus of $7.5 million, meaning if he's on the roster at the start of the season, then he gets an additional $7.5 million. So the way I would understand this is if the Packers were to go get him, right, they would be on the hook. The base salary would travel, and I believe the roster bonus would travel with the contract, which means that would be $20 million as opposed to Tay, that if I remember correctly, Devontae Adams's whole deal was it was mostly base salary, and it was $30 million. Let me look that up now.
And we're also not considering trading for Devontae, right? That was never in the conversation. We're thinking if he's cut or released, we make a play. I don't think we're going to do a trade with the Jets. Are we? Are we considering that?
I think it's more likely that they just cut him. But if Aaron Rodgers is back, guys, there's a good chance Tay's coming back. And the coaches are trying to sway Aaron to come back, it sounds like.
That's why I said Jaden Higgins, that's your answer.
And that's why I've been saying Chris Godwin, right? Like it's like Chris Godwin makes more sense to me than Tay does, than a trade to Cooper Kupp. Like with Chris Godwin, if he does indeed hit the market, you can go get him a deal like Xavier McKinney. Now, obviously, it's going to be more because the market's much higher for the wide receiver position. But if you go and get him, can get a 3-year deal, but it's really a 2-year deal, and see what he can do. But yeah, Davante Adams is $35.6 million in base salary, meaning his cap hit is $38.4 million. His dead cap is only 6.2, and that's because there is a proration and voidable years tacked on his contract. So if the Jets just cut him outright, they're going to free up over 35. I think it's like right around 30 million with all the cap penalties and voidable years involved. So they've got a big reason, a big why as to should they cut Davante Adams, right? But the other thing is when it's 35.6 million, you've already got 2 voidable years structured in the contract. They could also say, let's restructure, convert a good portion of that 35.6 million to signing bonus, and then spread that out over not just this year, but 2027 and 2028, where they have voidable years. So they could take, and if he did not want to give up any money, they could say, okay, we're going to convert 20 million to signing bonus and spread it out over 27 and 28. And now his cap hit would just be 15 million this year. So
I think when you look at Tay and you look at Cooper Kupp, they're both top tier receivers, right?
Yep.
They're both kind of, getting older. We'll just say that. But I think if you just look at them at face value, I think Tay has still got plenty of gas in the tank, and I haven't seen much of his game kind of erode as he's aged. I think Cooper Kupp is starting to show the wear and tear a little bit. Starting to show.
I agree.
It seemed like last year he was hurt all year, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's like all year long there was something going on.
Yep.
So, yeah. Joey Scotty? Cool name. Chris Godwin coming off another torn ACL. How about we don't? That wasn't an ACL, House. That was an ankle. So
there we go.
That's my knowledge, right?
That was
Tim, he did not tear his ACL, right?
No, that was I believe it was an ankle injury.
Yeah. It was an ankle, and Joey, they said that if they had advanced in the playoffs, he was going to play in the next playoff game, most likely.
Yep.
He was the best guy around.
Perfect time to hit that one in the mix. So yeah, not an ACL. Matter of fact, you get kind of the same reaction when it comes to this talk about our boy, my boy, I should say, Chris Godwin. Let me show you guys Chris Godwin real quick and why I'm a little more excited about him. We're gonna go free agency rankings. We got to wrap this thing up too, boys. I got to go, but so here's your free agency rankings when it comes to wide receiver according to PFF. Bang. T. Higgins, number 1. 78, 72, 88, 26 years old, right? You guys know how I feel about that. I could see T. Higgins being like a wide receiver. Who was it that, gosh, I'm trying to think. I think the Jaguars signed him, and they signed him to a pretty big contract. He was a bigger body. I can't remember his name now. He had a decent year, but he's not that dude that's going to get you over the hump. I think T. Higgins has benefited a lot from Jamar Chase being on the opposite side. That's just me personally. Oh, by the way, playing with Joe Burrow doesn't hurt either, right? He's one of the highest rated in PFF every year amongst quarterbacks. But here's Chris Godwin. Look at Chris Godwin. 75, 77, and 86. Now, keep in mind, he broke that ankle last year, right? And let's see if they say anything about ACL, because I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. You don't believe me? Ask my wife. Godwin has consistently displayed reliable hands, dropping fewer than 6% of catchable passes in 7 of his 8 NFL seasons. He maintained that standard in 2024, earning an 85.7 PFF receiving grade through nearly 7 weeks without a single drop on 52 catchable targets. However, Godwin sustained a season-ending left ankle dislocation. He is no stranger to entering free agency with an injury, and hopefully the recovery will be even quicker this time around. So he may have had an ACL in the past, which would make sense. Let's go back the last 2 years, though. 2022, he was the 26th highest rated receiver with a 75.7, played 953 snaps. 2023, he played 1,000 snaps, 77.5 was his PFF grade. And then in 2024, he had an 86.3 PFF grade. He was the 10th highest graded receiver, but he only got the 397 snaps when he dislocated that ankle. If it'll let me click, it'll probably take me off this page, and I'll have to share it in another page here, if I remember correctly. I want to show you guys his entire career here, if it'll pull up. Looks like it's locked up.
Just for the record, Joey came back and said, "You're right. He dislocated his ankle. My bad, gents. No worries, man.
All good, man.
His receiving is tough.
You listen to this show at all, you know I screw up all the time, brother. You're going to hear me get a lot of stuff wrong. Let me exit out of that. I got another screen I'm going to share here just to show you the duration of his career, how consistent, guys. Look at these grades down here. Drop it down for me. Let me see if I can zoom in too. Just to show you, all right? 2020 or 2017, 81, 80, 90, 80, 81, 75, 78, 86. Now let's look at the overall snaps. Starting his rookie year, 525, 842, 1,333, 840, 1,103, 1,023, 1,024, and then they're actually showing 570. Oh, that's yards. What am I doing? Jesus, unbelievable. Where is snaps at? They're not showing his snaps, are they? That was his yards, by the way. So he's had 4 years where he had 1,000 yards receiving. Of course, they're going to have his snaps way over here, ain't they? Yep, of course. That's just passing snaps, so not even overall snaps. Wonderful. So anyway, you could tell by the targets, 123, 137, 124. I mean, this dude has been available, right? This year was the first year where he had significant, did not play, right, because of an injury. And the fact that it was just an ankle and he was ready to go in the playoffs, to me, says a lot that the dude's going to be ready. And again, for the right price. I'm not saying you break the bank and go get Chris Godwin. I'm simply saying of all those receivers that we just talked about, he's the one that pops to me to go consistency, availability. He's not going to hold out like T. Higgins did and cause a little bit.
I was just going to say, I'll take that over giving T. Higgins $30 million.
All right. T. Higgins to me just feels like you go give him the bag, he's going to act like a knucklehead. That's just me. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm judging too harshly there. But anyway, Prince in the chat said, "How is Kaiser's coverage grade?" Talking about Jack Kaiser. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Jack Kaiser, linebacker. Where you at, sir? I won't put it on the screen because we got to wrap up here. But how they do this, it drives me insane, man. It's not showing his coverage grade, so we're going to have to – oh, here we go. All right. Yeah, coverage grade for Kaiser is right at the median line, so he's kind of averaging coverage 62.5. His run defense grade is 86.8. His average depth of tackle, run tackle is 4.6. His missed tackle rate is only 4.6%. You guys seen our tackling got a lot better last year. So, his run defense, the coverage grade, 62.5.
That's a great point by Prince, though. Like, because when I look at Kaiser, that's what I get. I get that McDuffie Wilson kind of vibe from him. Maybe.
And if you're wanting a more well-rounded linebacker, right? You're probably not your guy. I think he'd probably be a good special teamer, and you got to think if Eric Wilson's not going to be here, boys, we're going to need a special teamer. No doubt about that. Chris Paul Jr. coverage grade 78.1, so much better in coverage. Jalen Walker, some think he's an edge, some think he's a cover linebacker. His run defense grade was horrible, 62.3. He's almost at the bottom of the barrel. Again, Jalen Walker's that dude that everybody's saying is a hybrid. His pass rush grade, 83.8. Coverage grade, 67.7. So you remove the pass rush grade for Jalen Walker. I just get nervous about him, man. I really do. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but what we got here? We got a super chat. Throw it up there. Read it for me, Jacob.
Mike Whitt says, "My offseason prediction: we sign DJ Reed, bring Devontae back home, then concentrate on edge in the draft." I wouldn't.
I'd be okay with that.
I wouldn't be mad at that at all.
Yeah.
Just give me a D tackle in the draft too. Like a future 3 tech there. What if you did bring Devontae back home? Think about this. What if Devontae does come back to the Green Bay Packers? Let's say you sign DJ Reed and you feel a little bit better about the cornerback position. And then with the first round pick, you go trenches. You either go 3 tech or you get the best offensive lineman on the board. And then with the second rounder, you take a Jaden Higgins. You imagine that wide receiver room now.
Yeesh.
We're basically what that means, guys, is Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are walking in free agency. They may come back, but they're going to test free agency. And you're kind of turning the page to the next crop of wide receivers. And it sounds silly. It sounds like, well, would Goody do that? Guys, he is meeting with a bunch of wide receivers in this draft. Wide receivers, defensive tackles, and corners are the position he's meeting with the most. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes multiple swings on those positions. So.
What do you think about Josh Martin says DJ Reed is 5'9" pass? Is
he really? That's interesting because
5'9"?
And I'm gonna try to pull something. I'm gonna be so late. This happens.
I'm sorry, Clay.
No, it's cool, man. This is fun. This is why we do it. There was a tweet that went out about DJ Reed. I need to find it, man.
He said 45 minutes. We're at almost an hour, and the papers are. Mandy just shoved him under the door. You know, he just has to sign.
Just walk out those doors right there. Don't even come downstairs. Just go out that door, please.
You ready to go?
Let's see. DJ Reed. Somebody had a stat. I think it was Andy Herman. Here you go. DJ Reed versus Justin Jefferson, Addison, and the Vikings. Final stat line. He was targeted 7 times, 2 receptions, 16 yards, 1 pass breakup, but he did have 2 PI penalties. So, I don't get too caught up in the whole height thing. It can be a cluster buster for me, and there's definitely limitations. If he's 5'9", though, that's very concerning. It is for sure. So,
Princess Mandy's lawyer just popped the cork.
Oh, this is gonna pay good. DJ Reed, I've got his PFF card. Yeah, 5'9", 188. That's a good point.
All right, then.
Important information, right, Tim?
Yes.
Former 5th round pick. Charvarius Ward, 6'1". He's going to be a free agent as it sits right now. Rasul Douglas, 6'2". Of course,
Nope. Stop it.
Tim,
on the decline.
what?
Dude, stop it.
Oh my!
Watch the tape. Watch the tape. Did
Carlton
not have a great
Davis.
year. Did not. The fall off is real.
Carlton Davis, 6'1", a little bit better. He's another one of my guys that I like. He's a 21st highest graded corner this year. He's one too. They're projecting 3 years, $14 million average. So that's.
What about Byron Murphy from? Why don't we start stealing freaking people from Minnesota for once? All right.
Byron Murphy, former 2nd round pick, 5'11", 190, decent size, not bad.
He was the best guy around.
He's at the top of my list too, Jacob. Now, here's the thing that's really cool. We're wrapping up now. Again, Mike Witt, thank you for that super chat, bud. We appreciate you. Here's the thing. There's going to be cuts involved, right? There's going to be cap casualties. When do those cap casualties happen? I was trying to find some dates. Now, with the Packers, they like to wait till the last possible second. So what's probably going to happen is on the eve of free agency, we're going to have to do a show and go, all right, here's the latest cuts. Now the board adjusts. Hopefully PFF will keep up with that, with their rankings. And again, tonight we will hit on the free agent rankings and just kind of walk through all the positions because, Tim, you remember before they were only listing 50, right?
Yeah.
Now we've got how many pages here? It's showing 4 pages. So now they have that list all the way to 100, it looks like. So we've got a significant amount of folks in here now where it seems like they expanded it a little bit. So we'll continue
That's
to hit
our
on
homework to do.
Yeah. We'll dive into that a little bit, revisit it. We'll also continue to talk about the draft, obviously, as we get closer. So the next date that we got, I'm thinking here, March. What did we say was up next, Tim? We had the dates. Let me go down here real quick. So you got February 9th, obviously, is the Super Bowl. February 18th, the teams may designate the franchise tag. So on the 18th of February, which is 16 days away, you're going to see the franchise tag start to roll through, right? And we'll see how that plays out. I don't think, obviously the Packers don't have anybody that would qualify, nor would they probably tag him. I think Devontae's the only guy Goody's ever tagged, and it wasn't really a tag. It was more of a let's bridge the gap and get him out of here. So funny how we forget about that too. But February 20th, contract restructure period. Look for the Packers to start restructuring those contracts around February 20th. So, and then, of course, we got the Combine coming up. I want to say it's February 24th, right? So it's here, boys. The rush is on. We're going to just be combing through this data as much as we can. We got a list of players we got to add to the board that have caught our attention now. When I first started doing my draft board, I thought I was crazy. I was like, man, I'm going to do 150 prospects. That's it. And then it went to 200. And then last year it went to like 240. This year we got over 400 people, I think, on the board. So it's developing a mind of its own for sure. So, you boys got anything else?
No, I think you should get going before.
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
have to find a
say,
lawyer.
I get in trouble.
All right, we're out of here, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna have my cousin Vinny in here taking care of everything if I ain't careful. So
He was the best guy around.
that is the perfect drop. We're out of here. We'll see y'all tonight, 7 p.m. Central. Drop by and tell us how bad the show sucked.
Bye, guys.